So we're going to talk about finding your meditation seat. I'm going to give you guys about 3 different variations and ways of sitting using things that you have at home. If you do have yoga props like a yoga bolster, yoga blankets, yoga blocks, ideally that's what you would want to use, but most of us don't have all of that at the house. So I've got a couple of things that are, general household items that you guys can use. You can improvise if you don't have blocks, because I do have 2 blocks here. But if you don't have blocks, you can use books or anything that's thick and firm like a block. If you don't have a bolster, you can use towels, couch pillows. We'll go over that in detail later. But before we get started, let's just kind of go over why it's important to find your meditation seat. Number 1 is because most of the time people get discouraged from traditional seated meditation because of the discomfort that comes in their seat. They can't seem to find a seat that works. They see people sitting like this and they're like, I can't sit like that. And it gets in the way of their meditation practice. It discourages them, or they'll change up the way they do things. The second reason is because once you find your ideal meditation seat, which hopefully you guys will be able to after this video, I'll give you a few variations. I recommend working with them in our meditations. We have 3 classes a week. Meditation is always included, whether it's just a few minutes or a much longer practice. It's still a practice that we always include. So you can try these few different variations, maybe, a few days at a time until you find the one like, okay, out of the few, this is the one that works best for me. But it'll allow you to go deeper into your meditation once you find that ideal seat. So you won't be so concerned with your position. You can rest easy, know that you're in the position, you're a statue, you're here to stay, and this is it. Now you can go into meditation. So it's to help you go deeper. Okay. So we're going to jump into it, but the first thing that I want to go ahead and point out, just to kind of help you guys manage your expectations when it comes to this, is no matter what seat you pick, you can have your favorite seat, like this is the one. There will be discomforts if you're not used to sitting in meditation. So while it may be very comfortable and doable for 5 or 10 minutes, it may start to get a little uncomfortable beyond 10 minutes, going into 20 and 30 minutes of meditation. And that is completely normal. The only solution to that is to do it more, to sit in meditation every single day, to do yoga, to do stretching. It's usually tightness in the hips and the lower back and the psoas that gives people issues with sitting in meditation. So that is why we do yoga. We do yoga before meditation every time to kind of loosen up the joints so that you can sit down in your meditation seat a little bit more comfortably without all of the stiffness from being immobile or not stretching often. So know that the discomfort will happen. That is actually part of the meditation. That's where you practice not being so reactive to external stimuli and having to respond and change something and make adjustments every single time something pops up that's uncomfortable. As long as it's not excruciating pain, the discomfort is part of your meditation practice. The mental fantasies and all of that, part of your meditation practice. That's how you learn to find peace within it all, by just observing instead of having to take action or control the situation in some kind of way. When it does come to adjustments in meditation, I'm not saying you can't adjust and move something. If a foot falls asleep, which it will, you can mindfully move your feet, make your adjustments to your body, but not in such a reactive way. Think about it first, visualize your adjustment, and then make it. So that way you're not disturbing meditation. So the first seat that I'm going to show you guys, and I'm just going to show you guys what I use. It's a simple setup. I like it. I've been using it since day 1. And even when I started using this particular way of seating, I still experience discomforts because of my own, personal bodily things like my back and my spine. Sitting up straight was a challenge for a very long time. And again, I was doing yoga every day to kind of work through that challenge. Once I got a seat, though, it made things a lot more manageable. And so even though those discomforts would still come up in meditation, they weren't disturbing. And that gave me the opportunity to practice working through and sitting with the discomforts and sitting with all of that and sticking with the meditation, not letting the discomforts and things completely take over my attention, that's what strengthened my meditation practice as well. So all of that stuff with practicing over time kind of starts to fade into the background when it comes to any annoyances or irritating things or bodily things that are annoying come up in meditation. With practice, that stuff fades to the back, and with practice, all of that stuff also loosens up. But it won't if you don't sit every day and if you don't do some type of stretching at least every other day. So my favorite setup is just a meditation cushion set. I got this online. You can go on Amazon. This one is from Gaiam, and it comes with your rectangle cushion and then your meditation pillow. So it's simply like this. Now, you're going to sit, when you sit on anything, whether it's this pillow, blocks, towel, bolster, we'll get to those later, you want to scoot to the edge. So I put my meditation pillow towards the back here, and then I scoot my butt towards the edge. My knees are resting on this cushion. So because, you know, sitting on the floor and having knees resting on the floor may not seem like a big deal, but after like 15, 20 minutes of meditating, it becomes an issue. So having some type of cushion underneath your knees is always helpful. So you just sit on the edge, cross your legs. When it comes to crossing legs, there are like 5 different variations when sitting cross-legged. I simply take one foot, here's my heel, I bring it towards my pelvis, and then I take my other foot and I just put it right in front of that one. So my heels are pretty much aligned, my knees are out, and then here's my meditation seat. If you want to cross a foot, you can, and you can do that. Just kind of tuck it like this. And I'll just leave it with those two because this is more so for beginners. For those of you who are sitting in half lotus and putting your foot on your hip crease, you probably don't really need this video because you're already at that point. You have the flexibility to place your foot up there or both, but it's not necessary. And I don't meditate like that. I don't sit that way. So I've been doing this way for so long that it just comes natural now. Even if I'm not meditating and I'm just sitting, this is how I sit. So notice here that my knees, when you're sitting like this, no matter how you have your feet, when your legs are crossed, you want your knees to either be at the level of your hips or below, not higher. So if you're sitting like this and your knees are up, then you should definitely be watching this video. And if you're sitting like this with knees up, even sitting up elevated on a meditation pillow, then you might want to start with some of the other variations that I'll show you later. But if your knees come to hip level or lower, then you're good to go. Now, if you are just loving this seat and you're like, I don't like the other variations, I like this one, but it's very hard, but I like this one because that's how I was. I was very stubborn about other seats, even though I tried them. You can take, and your knees are higher, if they're still high, you can take a block and you can put, or books or whatever, but just to let your knees kind of rest, to start to come down to hip level, okay? So this block is thicker, so it's making this knee higher, but a thinner block or a book or whatever, just so that you can rest the knees and, you know, you don't have gravity making things feel too forceful. You rest the knees on the block, and here you have it. All right. Now that we're here and your knees are level or lower than the hips and you're sitting on the edge of this cushion, let's talk about the spine. So obviously you don't want to be hunched over because when we do meditation, we do breath work. So you want to lift the chest, lift the spine, and you want that natural curve in your lower back to be there. So you don't want to lean back to try to be like so upright, because then you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on your sacrum, and then that's going to lead to like some numbness coming down the legs and some pain. So you want to have the natural curve on your lower back, and you want to be lifted in the chest, your shoulders relaxed. So shoulders, hips aligned, natural curve. Resting the hands on tops of the knees so that your shoulders can relax, but Also, so that your arms are sort of kind of like kickstands to help keep you upright. Because as you meditate, you may slouch, and that's fine. You just readjust whenever you feel yourself slouching. You don't want to strain to sit up straight, but you're supporting yourself with your hands and you're keeping an erect spine with its natural curve. And that's in any variation of the seats that we're going to talk about today. So that's the first version. The second, now if you don't have a meditation cushion set, again, improvise. So fold up a blanket that can serve as the bottom cushion, and then grab some type of pillow. Just make sure it's firm. So if you've got like soft pillows on your bed, memory foam and all that, not one of those. Maybe a couch pillow, something just a little bit more firm that's not going to just completely flatten once you sit on it, because that defeats the purpose. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one, which is, in the perfect world, you would have yoga blankets and a yoga bolster. I don't have yoga blankets and a bolster because I have stuff at home to use, so I don't see the need. But I'm going to move this out of the way. The first variation, so block or books. I'm just going to use one block. You can use 2 blocks, but I've got a pretty thick block here. You want it to be this way, not that way, this way. And then you can take, I'm going to use a towel, but you can take I would say go ahead with a blanket. It's just that sometimes they're a bit soft, but you might be able to fold it up enough in a way where it's a little firm and actually can support you. I guess I'll do it this way. So once you fold it, you want to roll it. I'm not going to roll this too tight because it's going to get too small. Put it on top of your block, and from this you can either sit like we just did. So here I am on the block. You see how my hips are much higher, so you might like this a lot better. Scoot just a little to the edge. Fold your legs how you want to fold them. And now you're even more supported. You see how higher up I am, so that's even less strain on my back. And remember, don't lean back because you're kind of sitting on the edge of a block. You really do have to be mindful of where you distribute your upper body weight, because if it's right on top of your hips, then again, there goes that pressure on the lower back, on the sacrum, and it's going to feel like pinching after a while. So natural curve to the spine, to the lower back, to the lower spine. As you can see, this is me trying to be perfectly straight. This is me letting my natural curve be what it is. Sit up tall in the chest, and your gaze down on the ground and slightly in front of you or tip of the nose. Palms resting on the tops of the thighs or knees. And with this variation, because the knees are lower, your arms are a little bit more supportive. They serve even more so as a kickstand. Relax the shoulders. So you're not like this. Relax the shoulders, but sit tall. This is where you find that balance between being engaged and relaxed, which is all part of yoga, right? The polar opposites, finding the balance in between. Now, in this variation, I don't have cushion under my knees, but you can put cushion under your knees. So let's just say I'm going to take this other towel I have. It's folded. You can fold it however many times you want, and you can put it under your knees. Like that. Just make sure it feels right. And you'll only know by using this, whatever position you choose, in a meditation session. That's how you'll find out if this works or not. And try to use it more than one time. You know, maybe like a few times, or for a week you do one seat. For a week you try another one, kind of like that. But I definitely went through my fair share of seats before I just settled with the one that I liked the most, even though it wasn't discomfort free. I settled with that. I stuck with that one, and I just worked through the challenges, because there will be some. So the next variation, we're going to go over our kneeling positions. So I'm going to keep this block that I have, because you can keep it just how it is. You've got your blanket, your towel, I recommend a towel, and the block underneath, and you're going to straddle the block put this more to the back of the mat so I can sit on the edge of it, still sitting on the edge. Now, when it comes to this kneeling, the height matters, and I'm going to show you how to know if you're high enough or not, because it's going to be different for everyone. So I've got the inner sides of my feet kind of flush against the edges of the block. And this is essentially what it's going to look like. But this is not high enough. And you know, if you can't fit your fingers, like where your knees are bent, your calves kind of press into the back of the thighs, that's going to create numbness and a lot of discomfort very fast. So if you can't stick your hand, your fingers in between that, the calf and the back of the thigh, then you're not high enough. So you may need to grab another block or book or whatever and sit higher, kneel higher. Scooting to the edge. Now, one of the things about the edge when it comes to this is you can like scoot to the edge until you sort of feel like you're going to fall off, sort of. So all the way on the edge. And one of the best ways to do this, if I'm being honest, is to tilt the block and then sit. Way better. Tilt the block and then sit. Tilt it towards you, like lift it up, tilt, put your butt on the edge, and then sit. And then everything will just kind of fall in place. So now I'm a little higher. I've got a little bit more space right here between my calf and the back of my thigh. So I could probably be a little bit higher. But I'd probably work with this and see how it goes. So you want the natural curve in your lower back, still sitting up tall, palms are resting on the tops of the thighs, shoulders are relaxed. This is most beginners' favorite. You can start with this, or you can start with it. You can start with this and then move on to the cross legs, or you can start with this and stick with it. It doesn't matter as long as you have a good seat. But I want to show you guys how to get a little bit higher, because I could be a little bit higher right now. After a while, that might not be ideal, this one. So keeping the block there, I'm going to take one off. I'm going to grab this is a bolster from my couch. So if you have couch pillows or bolsters, those are perfect because they're nice and firm. If you don't, then if I didn't have this and I was trying to sit higher, I would double up my towels. Right? I'll just do double, triple towels. It just depends on how thick your towels are. And like roll it. See? That's thicker. Like that. It's about as thick as the bolster, but not as high. So that's just an example if you guys don't have the couch bolster, okay? You're gonna turn it the long ways. And you kind of want it, you're going to be on the edge, so you sort of kind of want to put it towards the edge of the block, the edge of the bolster and the edge of the block. Same thing, straddle, scoot to the edge. I'm going to bring this more flush with the edge of the bolster, edge of the block and edge of the bolster. I'm a little bit higher. But to be honest, the towels are firmer. This kind of sinks down a bit. But you just have to see what works for you. You don't want a lot of pressure on the bottom, on the part of your leg that's on the ground. So your weight, you don't want your weight pressing down on your calves, basically. Keep that lower natural arc in the spine and just do a check here. See, I have less, this is actually not as high. So I'm gonna try it with the double rolled towels. Like that. There we go. A little bit better. Let's get my second block in there. Matter of fact, let's do that. 2 blocks, because I've already showed you guys the towel, so 2 blocks, bolster. That's nice and high. Straddle, move to the edge. To the point where it's like, oh, there's barely any weight on my bottom legs, hold on. There we go. And to the edge. Now I can easily swipe. Move my pants. I can swipe, see? Whereas before I couldn't even get my fingers in there. I can get them in there a little bit. So that's good enough. This is super duper duper supportive. Like you could just sit here probably for longer than any of the other seats. Sitting tall. This is me with my tailbone tucked because you know we're always tucking our tailbone in yoga, but do the opposite meditation. Just kind of let it poke out. Hands resting, just let them slide down the thighs. Find a good spot. And if you guys are like struggling, regardless of the seat, if you're like, where do I place my torso? Because you can't see yourself as far as having this alignment, right? From ears, shoulders, hips. So one of the best ways to find it is to feel it. So kind of be like a pendulum and sway back and forth. It's best to close your eyes and do it. Sway until you find like, okay, there's not a lot of pressure on my lower spine. You're not leaning forward. You're not leaning backwards. Just kind of find. You can start by rocking big and then making it small. And finding that spot. Make sure the belly is being drawn in just a little bit. You don't have to completely engage the abs, but the reason that you're engaging them just a tad is because it helps you to keep the spine. Once you let the belly go, the spine goes and everything goes. You know, it's normal to start slouching through the meditation, especially when we inhale. And then when we exhale, it's natural to... So just remember that you inhale, keep the length, exhale. The only thing that deflates is your chest. Your spine is not deflating, it's not compressing, it's not crunching. Feel the space in between each vertebrae. Make as much space as you can between each vertebrae of your spine. Use that to choose a seat. You don't want to feel compacted or compressed or anything like that. So those are your, 3 different ways of sitting for meditation. If you're a brand new beginner, start here. If sitting cross-legged, even with the pillows and the cushions and blocks and all this support is an issue for you, especially with your back, start here. I would like for you guys not to revert to having some type of back support because, to be honest, being mindful of your posture in meditation while also meditating is helping your meditation practice. Being too comfortable with support on the back and all that, you kind of you're going to have issues with falling asleep during meditation. So you want to be relaxed, but not so relaxed that you fall asleep. You want to still be aware of your posture, still feel engaged in your body, but also very relaxed at the same time. Start here if you're a beginner. Sign up to the classes. I'll see you guys live in our classes. Check out the on-demand videos. Do more yoga if you're tight. Do more yoga. And I hope you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. It's hard for me, if you guys are struggling with your seat or you're just unsure of something, reach out to me. If you want me to assess your seat, I will. Take a picture get into your seat, take a picture, a side angle picture and a front angle picture, and then send it to me and I will assess your seat and give you some adjustment tips and all from there. So that is available to you. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in class. Namaste.